government sector and with UNICEF. She started her career as a medical officer in rural hospital of West Bengal in remote sensing Sundarbans, and after working as a faculty member of community medicine in government medical college and state level with government of West Bengal, since last 15 years, she has been working with UNICEF as UNICEF's health specialist, has contributed in policy formulation, quality improvement, and innovation in the field of maternal newborn, child health, and nutrition at district, state, and national level. Welcome you, ma'am. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening to everybody. And as you know, today is World Children's Day. So everybody, to all, we are wishing a very happy World Children's Day. Today, as you all know, that we are going to discuss early childhood development in this session, which will be about 1.5 hours. And for that, we have some eminent speakers who will be taking us through the various facets of early childhood development. And as you all know, that during this COVID times, it is very, very important that we see to it that all the rights of the children are intact, they are maintained. And one of the rights is not only survival, but intact survival and survive and thrive. That means survival, growth, and development. As we know that the country and the world in general and the country also, we have achieved a lot in child survival, also in newborn survival, though the last mile is still, we have to get the last mile, still we have to reach there. But yes, we have done a lot for the survival of children. And as we know, now the country's IMR stands at 32 per thousand. The neonatal mortality stands at 23 per thousand. And the under 5 mortality stands at 36 per thousand. Yes, we still have a lot to cover. But what is more important, that along with survival, we also put enough importance to development, give enough importance to development. So from survival to development, that is the paradigm shift which is happening in some of the countries which are more developed. They have already shifted there, but we are also transitioning. So early childhood development is to some extent a rather new concept. It's not really a new concept, but it is rather a new concept. So, I mean, to start with, I mean, we say that if we change the beginning of the story, we change the whole story. So the beginning means the beginning of a child's life, and not only the beginning of the child's life, but it starts even from before. It starts from when the child is in the mother's womb, or even before, when the mother was not yet a mother, but she was growing up. So to start with, I would like to invite Professor Piyush Gupta to take us through why, what is ECD and why is ECD. Professor Piyush Gupta is the Professor and Head, Department of Pediatrics, University College of Medical Sciences, Delhi, and he is also the President-elect, Indian Academy of Pediatrics. He is the Chairperson of Pediatric and Adolescent Nutrition Society of IAP. He has written, published about 300 papers and has edited or authored 30 books. He has been honored with various prestigious awards, including the National Teacher of Excellence Award in Medical Education by the Vice President of India. So who else but Professor Piyush Gupta, who will be taking us through why ECD and what ECD. So sir, I would like to request you, welcome sir to this webinar, and namaskar, and thank you for agreeing to be the first speaker to this webinar, and we would like you to take us through, and the audience, and as you know, the audience is mostly the NGO and CSO members. So not all of them are technical people or doctors. Yes, there will be some doctors also, but they have been working in the field for newborn care for child health for quite some time. So if you give them your ideas about why ECD, why do we want to invest in ECD, and what is ECD? Thank you. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Mitra. It's a real pleasure to be here with you all on this auspicious World Children's Day. And I'm really very happy to be presenting the initial thoughts on what is ECD. And because, as you said, the concept is new. Yes, it may be old, but for most, it is a new concept. Even for pediatricians, they hardly know what is early childhood development, and many people confuse it with the neurodevelopment only. While this term is consists of holistic development. Now, just in 3-4 slides, I'll explain what do we mean by early child development and why there is a need to spend on early child development. As Dr. Mitra said very clearly, that the emphasis is now shifting from surviving to thriving. Surviving we have achieved up to some extent, but now the process is on thriving most important. Now, if you have a look at the first 3 years of life, first 3 years of life are most critical for the brain growth, and it is influenced by several factors. They can be adverse factors. There are protective factors as well. The adverse factors include poverty, stunting, etc. These are the two major factors. And protective factors, how the child is brought up in the home, whether it is a normal child, the home environment, and the influencing factor in utero. And any imbalance in between the adverse factors and the protective factors, it affects the brain growth, physical health, and psychological development in the true sense. As you know, you have been seeing that the human brain development, these graphs, the sensory pathways, the language, etc., all are mostly developed in the first 3 years of life. So just to emphasize that the first 3 years of life are the most crucial in life. Just we have a look at this article from the Lancet, the Early Childhood Development Coming of Age, Science Through the Life course published in 2017. And it very clearly stated that almost, it's a huge figure. You can see 250 million, that approximately 40%, more than 40% children are not developing to their potential. And where are these children? Most of these children are in Asia or Africa, in these continents. Now, what is early childhood development? It is a generic term that refers to child's cognitive, social, emotional, language, and physical development. So in a complete sense, it is a holistic development. It is not only neurodevelopment, it is physical growth, it is how the child behaves, how the child interacts, how the child is there emotionally, and how the child is imbibed or taken care of within the society. This period encompasses several phases from conception to birth, with emphasis from birth to 3 years, that means the first 1,000 days, and then you can extend to preschool and pre-primary years to 5-6 years, and some definitions also include 6 to 8 years of age. But as I said previously, the prime area of emphasis remains 0 to 3 years. So as I said, it's a holistic approach to survive and thrive, to transform health and human potential, to make a dent from the very beginning where it matters. So this is the concept. Again, NCECD stands for Nurturing Care for Early Childhood Development. The concept given by WHO, UNICEF, and all international agencies consists of 5 components. This nurturing care, number 1 is health. Number 2, nutrition, opportunities for early learning, responsive parenting, and safety and security. All the 5 components are essential to have a normal development. Now, this is the India situation. 45% children, under 5 children, that means approximately 70 million are at risk of poor development. And as you can see, it is the health, early learning, responsive parenting, security, safety. So all these support and services are needed for early childhood development. Just to go on the last slide on the economic advantages, every $1 invested in ECD can provide a return of up to $17. Those who are interested more in money or more in stocks. So you can say this is an investment with no stock or no security can give you this much return as you can have investing in early childhood development. I'll stop there, I think, and the rest of the things will be taken up by the other speakers. Thank you, Dr. Kaninika, once again for giving me the opportunity to be here and present some of my thoughts.
Thank you so much, sir. And yes, it is definitely the investment, the last bit that you said, that people who are interested in stocks, but sometimes we also need to, when we go to the policymakers, the administrators, this is what we take with us and tell them that, see, if you actually invest in early childhood development, it's not only the individual child or the family, but the entire nation will be benefited. So it was fantastic, a very good presentation. Thank you for that. And I think it has set the right tone, and our audience must have understood why we would like to, what is early childhood development, giving the broad perspective of it, and why would we like to emphasize on, focus on, and invest on early childhood development. So the next, Professor Gupta has already set the tone, but I would like to take you through that why multi-sectoral and a comprehensive approach, why it is very important. Though we, on this newborn week, we have been talking about mainly the health perspective. But when we come to early childhood development, health may be the first entry point, but we have to actually take all the other areas also. So if you can just share the screen, please, Sphere Academy, my presentation, if you can share the screen. Nitin?
Yes, ma'am, I will share it now.
Yes. And could you connect to the others? Please let the others also, other speakers, they are unable to enter, please see to it. And please share the screen. Okay, since Nitin, while Nitin shares the screen, one point I would like to tell you that all these years in government, there was in health ministry, there was no program which was focused on early childhood development only. But lately, a program which is called home-based young child care, which has come in, the main focus of that program is on early childhood development. Okay, so I will come to that later, but let me start. Next slide, please. So we are talking of the multi-sectoral approach. Next slide, please. May I have the next slide, please, Nitin? Yes, and this figure, this picture you will be seeing again and again, because it is all about nurturing care. When we talk about early childhood development, there's a, science and arts, both are together. When we talk of nurturing care, why we are doing nurturing care, we have heard about the brain development and how the, neurons and synapses grow, but it also, not only it's the brain development, but it also has other aspects. And in that, what is very important is the parenting, stimulation. Please go back to the earlier slide. Yes. Parenting, stimulation. So there are two, etc. So it's health, nutrition, parenting, stimulation, security and safety all together, which actually contribute to early childhood development. And there are two, very clearly there are two focus areas or two groups of people whom we have to give services or with whom we have to work. One is the child and the other are the parents. So definitely the child conception to 8 years we have to see that they have equitable access to quality health, nutrition, protection, early learning services, and that address their developmental needs. Unless we look at all this, we will not be able to assure early childhood full development of the child. And also the parents and caregivers, they are equally important. They are supported to provide nurturing care, positive parenting and learning environment to their children. So you also have to teach the parents. Next slide, please. May I have the next slide, please? Yeah. And who are the children? Who are these children? The first 1,000 days that we talk about, you may have heard about the first 1,000 days. What is the first 1,000 days? It starts from the pregnancy, 270 days, plus it is the year 1, 365 days, and year 2, 365 days. If you add everything, it is the first 1,000 days. And we say that the first 1,000 days are forever, because from the preconception period till the first 2 years of age, they play a key role in the child's brain development. So if the first 1,000 days we can make it right for the pregnant mother, as well as for during the delivery, as well as for the first 2 years of child, we can be assured that the child will grow up to be, there's a high chance that the child will grow up to be a healthy and productive adult. And the child, but yes, the child's environment also shapes the brain development. And during this period, the brain requires multiple inputs, including stimulation, good health and nutrition at the right time. So as we are again saying that this is actually the most cost efficient investment, and it is the investment which can break the chain of inequality. Early childhood development, if you can do it right, we can break the chain of inequality. We give the opportunity to each and every child to grow and become a productive, intelligent person. Next one, please. Apart from the first 1,000 days, there are other age groups also. The other age group is the second 1,000 days, sometimes we say, and also we can take it to 8 years, which actually is early learning and protection, where the main focus is on early learning and protection. So this is about the children. And on the other side, as I said, it is for the caregiver, caring for the caregiver. That means the parents mainly. And that means we are doing it for 2 generations, both for the child and for the mothers. And not only that, the family support and strengthening. The environment is very important. If the environment is, for example, the physical environment, if the physical environment is dirty, if there is no hand washing, no cleaning, no toilet, or if the psychological or the mental environment is not conducive, that means there's violence, there's domestic violence, there's child abuse, that will also be reflecting on, these are the negative factors which reflect on the development of the child. So that means we need health, nutrition, wash, education, protection, all kinds of inputs so that the child's holistic development, comprehensive development occurs. So this is the multi-sectoral intervention packages. Next slide, please. May I have the next slide, please? Yeah. So in the first conception to birth, what we would be looking at, we will look at the good health of the mother, good nutrition of the mother. That means the entire gamut of antenatal care. If we break it down, the entire gamut of antenatal care, even preconception care, that comes in. Nutrition, maternal nutrition is very important. Safety and security of the mother, how the mother is stimulated, what kind of environment, what kind of domestic environment she is going through, what kind of stress or distressed environment she is in, whether there's domestic violence, whether there's abuse or not, that will very much impinge on whether the child will have the full development or not. And institutional delivery, there are many. It's very important that during intrapartum care, during delivery, there is no, because if there is brain damage, there's no brain damage, and the delivery that happens smoothly, because there's a lot of things which happen in the intrapartum care which will have its effect on the child, and that effect might last lifelong. So we will be hearing about the disabilities and the follow-up and high-risk newborns later. From birth to 3 years, again, good health, adequate nutrition, very important, because the malnutrition sets in here. Child safety and security, child's abuse, violence. Here, violence against children, this is something which has a very bad effect on children. And also responsive care. How to give responsive care? Responsive care starts from earlier. Now we are talking of feeding and cue-based feeding, responsive feeding. So it's very important when you start the complementary feeding, how the mother is feeding the child, whether the mother is talking to the child, even during breastfeeding, whether the mother is talking to the child, whether the mother is cuddling the child. That's very important. Early stimulation. When we go through the mother-child protection card, we will give you some example. But early stimulation is so very important. It's from the mother from the father, from the other family members. It's so very important. Once the mother, when the mother touches the child, the mother's smell. We talk of kangaroo mother care, which is from conception to birth. The kangaroo mother care immediately after birth for the low birth weight. That itself is one intervention which can actually promote early childhood development, because the child is close to the mother's body, child is smelling the mother. Apart from the advantages of breastfeeding, apart from the advantages of hypothermia prevention, but there's huge development, boost to early childhood development with kangaroo mother care. From 3 to 6 years, again, good health. For that, for example, malnutrition should be prevented, deworming, iron folic, etc., and folic acid, etc., has to be given. Adequate nutrition is important. Child safety and security at this age, it's very important to see that the child is protected from all kinds of abuse and unsafe atmosphere, environment. Responsive care here also is very important, because now the child is growing. Quality early childhood education, 3 to 6 years. What happens in the ICDS centers where our rural children go, that early childhood education, this is a very important part which comes in this age group. And 6 to 8 years, when the child is a little older, mostly the interventions that we have in our country in the new programs is up to 6 years, but then the child goes to school. So now the up to 6 years, it's mostly the health and the nutrition, ICDS, etc. But then the child goes to school. So the smooth transition to primary school, that is also important for, completing the early childhood development. Apart from that, good nutrition, health, safety, security, responsive care, quality primary education definitely gives a lot of, impact on that. Next one, please. Okay, so what will be the service delivery platform? Naturally, we know that the service delivery platform for the early age group, it will be health and nutrition. It can be ICDS centers, it can be hospitals, it can be health centers. For education, it will be the preschool and schools. And at the community level, definitely it's very important. Community childcare centers are there, workplace, if the mother is working, whether there are, whether there are baby care centers in there, the creches, these are very important, where early childhood development boost and promotion should be there. And in the protection, child protection center, there are many homes, childcare homes, where also we have to look at that these things are taken care of. Social protection centers, home visits, etc. But the service delivery platforms are very important. But most important, what is the other family, the parents, the child, and the home atmosphere. So early childhood education, for that, yes, service delivery platform are very important, especially the community level. And the negative factors sometimes come in the hospitals, as we will see later, how, here later, how there can be negative factors in the hospital itself, which can actually hamper childhood development. At home also, it can be negative, but all this can be actually converted to positive if the parents know how to stimulate the child, how to make that environment conducive. And also the service providers, they are always, if they are also clear about what kind of atmosphere should be there, starting from the labor room to the postnatal ward, to the maternity ward, to the ICDS centers, what kind of atmosphere and environment and what kind of stimulus can be given at each and every step. Next, please. And as I said, when we are talking of the multisectorality, early childhood development play an important role in achievement of different SDGs. That is SDG 2, which is about the hunger, nutrition, SDG 3, which is about health and mortality prevention, and SDG 4, which is about quality education, and SDG 6, which is about peace and justice and the protection. Protection. So it influences all this. So this is what about the multisectorality of early childhood development. And now, next one, I will show you a tool which is actually supporting this comprehensive nature of early childhood development. And I would like you to see this tool and say how many of you have seen the mother child protection card. Please go to the next slide. How many of you, please write in the chat box. Yeah, the stakeholders, this was the last one, that stakeholders very much government, but non-government organization and the UN and the other global bodies, they do play a big role. Next one, please. So I will now quickly take you through this, the mother child protection card. In the chat box, you can write How many have you seen or have worked or are using the mother-child protection card in your everyday work, or you have seen others, I mean the parents using it? You can write that. This is a simple tool for promoting early childhood development in families. This tool is government's tool, but it can be used, if this similar kind of tools can be used by NGOs also, not the exactly the same tool, but the main philosophy and the main elements of it can be used by others also. Next one, please. Next slide, please. Yeah, as we are moving from child survival to child development, the new MCP tool, the new mother-child protection tool, which I'm trying to show you, is also, has moved from only focusing on the child survival to child development as well. Next one, please. Next one, please. Yeah, it can be used by the families for different things, but what I would like to highlight here, that it can be used by the families to understand, learn, and follow positive practices for the mother as well as for the child, which actually promotes early childhood development. And it also provides alerts and prompts action in case of warning signs in children. And it's not only the physical warning signs that the child is becoming, for example, in diarrhea, the child is becoming dehydrated, but also positive warning signs that the child is not developing well. The child is not growing well, we know from the growth chart, and from this card, we will know very simply whether the child is developing well or not. Next, please. So this card is for the family actually, but the service provider can also track developmental milestone, advise on actions, and facilitate referral. If they see that the child is really not developing well, they can do the referral. How they will do it, we will come in a minute. Next one, please. Yeah, this is a comprehensive approach. It has antenatal care, it has newborn care, it has home visits, diarrhea, pneumonia, it has growth monitoring, it has also immunization. But this new card has included the early childhood development component as well. Next one, please. And as we say, the early childhood development part is captured in the nutrition and feeding practices of this card. It has been captured in the positive parenting practices. It has been captured in the development and growth tracking, that is the growth monitoring, and also early identification, warning signs, and referral. What we say, eat, play, and love. If we talk about early childhood development in three words, we can actually say it's eat, that means it's nutrition, it's play, which is stimulation, and it is love, which is also responsive parenting. So we can actually say eat, play, and love, and that is beautifully captured in this card. Next one, please. I'm not going to go through the details. I just want to show you a glimpse of the card. This is the part which talks about the feeding of children, early and exclusive breastfeeding. It talks about the benefits of early and exclusive breastfeeding. It talks about the positioning of early and exclusive breastfeeding, and it emphasizes feeding during child's illness. And it also talks about how to do responsive feeding. If you see the first one, you cannot see, but if you just glimpse at the first one, you will know that it is, they're saying that when you are feeding the child, do talk to the child. To talk to the child when you are breastfeeding the child, do look at the child's, you should have eye contact. Look, you may think that the child is too young to even notice anything, too young to even understand who the mother is, but no, there will be some kind of effect if you actually, the child does understand who the mother is, can recognize the mother from the smell, from the look, from the smile. So yes, look at the child when you're feeding the child. So this is entirely, it's not only for nutrition, but also promoting brain development, early and exclusive breastfeeding. Next one, please. Going to feeding and complementary feeding, this is very much part of the card, and this has been given enough importance to what to feed. Key messages on complementary feeding: on completion of 6 months, 6 to 9 months, 10 to 12 months. This is where we falter, and there are so many undernourished children in our country. Stunting is one of the most important problems in our country, and that actually hampers early childhood development to a large extent. The child who is stunted, that means who is suffering from chronic malnutrition, will grow up into an unproductive adult. So it has explained in detail how to feed, what to feed, how many times and how much and how. That means also the responsive feeding. and counseling on the general tips also. So this is also a very important part, which is actually promoting early childhood development. Next one, please. Yeah, and this is directly coming to the brain development and how the cognitive, the language or the speech, motor development, etc. are happening. This has the age appropriate development of milestones. If you see what most babies do, this card has made this understanding of the developmental milestones so easy that anybody, it's the Ashas and the Anganwadi workers and the ANMs are actually doing it. That what most babies do. All babies will not have the exact time when they will be able to do certain things, for like example, sitting or or standing, etc. But there's a range. So what most babies do at that age group. Explain the parenting tips. On one side, there is what most babies do. On the other side, parenting tips. What the parents should do to stimulate the early childhood development further. And different age groups are covered. 2 to 3 months age group, 4 to 6 months, 7 to 9 months, 10 to 12 months, by 18 months, 24 months, 3 years. So this is up to 3 years. Basically, the child's developmental pattern is being shown in a very simple manner, and parenting tips are given, and parents have to mark the card. They have to actually do it, look at it and see whether the child is being able to do it, and then they will tick in the card. This card is for them. And the Anganwadi workers and Ashas will come to their house and actually verify and see whether they have been doing it they have marked it properly, and explain to them the parenting tips. Especially, they will examine the child, verify it, and then explain to them the parenting tips. Next one, please. Next one, please. Apart from it, the other part is the warning signs. It shows that if by this age group, this developmental milestone is not achieved, or these kind of signs are seen, that means these are warning signs of developmental faltering. No, yes. These are warning. Go back, please. Go back, please. Yeah. These are signs of no, not this one. Go back. Yes. These are warning signs of developmental faltering. And so again, at 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, 18 months, 24 and 3 years, they will show that what are the things, what are the signs which can give the warning. So now if the warning, there's a warning sign which the Ashas or even the parents will be able to pick up, and they will then have to take the child to a doctor. And then caregivers, what they should be doing. And this is linked to, as I was saying, there's a program, RBSK program, Home-Based Young Child Care Program, where if we get time later, we can discuss a little bit, that there are district early intervention center where they can go, take the child there. Next one, please. Just an example of what happens 4 to 6 months. And if you see, the father is very much in picture. So it is also giving showing that encouraging the fathers to be part of the early childhood development. They are very much part of the early childhood development, the stimulus. So in 4 to 6 months, what most babies do, they are given pictorially mostly. And what are the parenting tips? How the parents see here, they are saying that the mother should take out the baby to show the birds, to show the sun, the moon, etc. And how the father is playing, how the mother is playing with the baby. And what most babies can do, they can reach out to hold the ball. They can do, enjoy looking at the mirror. All these things they are trying to show through this. Okay. And so again, 4 to 6 months, by 6, go to the next slide, please. So by 6 months, if these things do not come, these things do not come, or these signs are there. For example, the baby cannot, doesn't have head control. By 6 months, the baby's head is still floppy. That means there's a problem, okay? And then when you are offering the baby a very colorful toy or a colorful ring, the baby is not interested. So these are some examples. These are some signs, telltale signs, warning signs that the baby is unable to, is not growing, and there's the developmental milestones are faltering. So the baby should be taken to the doctor, to the district early intervention center. Next one, please. Yeah, this is just an example of what happens at 18 months. And same thing. Of course, the baby has now grown. So what most babies do, it's given there that they will walk, and they will kind of independent steps they will take and all that, put payables together, etc. It's there, and the parenting tips, how the father and the mother and the others can help them. Simple questions, ask the child simple questions, encourage. So there are tips for different things, for motor development, for language development, for fine motor development, for cognitive development. The tips are given in such a simple way that the mothers and the fathers will be able to understand. Okay, and so the next one, please. I think I've come to the last one. Yeah, and these are the danger signs during that 18 months. If these things doesn't happen, cannot put the small objects in a container, for example, I'm saying. So then you know that the warning signs. By 18 months, the baby should be able to put small objects in a container. So if that doesn't happen or any of these things show, then the baby has to be taken to the doctor or the district early intervention center or to a developmental physician. Next one, please. So coming to the last one, that every time a parent speaks to a young child, it sparks something in the child. It's stimulation to the child. It forms brain connection. So it's so important. So this is, as I said, started by saying it's science and arts together. So this is where I think the CSOs, the NGOs can play a big role. And I just wanted to give the example of ECD, that mother-child protection tool, how simple it is, but how useful it is. So I will stop here. And I'm asking Nitin whether Dr. Kumutha could join, because I think she was, yes, I think she has joined, yes.
Yes,
so,
I am here.
Okay, thank you. So with that, I will complete, I finish my part here, and I welcome Dr. Kumutha from Chennai. I think many of us know Dr. Kumutha, who is a very well-known pediatrician, and many of us have benefited from hearing from her in different forums. And from the beginning itself, she has been with the entire facility-based newborn care work that has been happening in the country. She has been associated with it. She has been a mentor for many of the hospitals, the SNCUs and the hospitals. Right now, she is the professor and head of neonatology at Savitha Medical College, Chennai. Earlier, she was attached to ICH Chennai and also to the National Health Mission Chennai. She is a neonatologist and pediatrician with more than 34 years experience in the field. So welcome, Dr. Kumutha.
Hello. Yeah.
Yes, welcome that you have been able to join us despite your busy schedule. We are very happy to see you again, and we have actually seen you talking to doctors and nurses on the newborn care. And also now we are asking you a few questions on how the antenatal and intrapartum care, how that influences how the child will grow up as a, with intact survival and with full early childhood development. That's number one. And number two is, there are with so many SNCUs now all around the country, the technology has helped to make so many very, very small and sick newborns survive, which is a great thing. However, it also means that many of them will have problems later in their life, and that may kind of go on till they become adults, and that throughout their life they will suffer from that. So what can be done to see that these survivals are intact survival, the follow-up, the entire part of follow-up care of these sick and small children, how that can be done in the hospital and also when they go home? And also if you can also touch a little upon the work that the government is doing regarding the district early intervention center, etc., follow-up clinic, etc. If you can also touch upon that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Over to you.
Okay. Do I share the presentation from my side, or can I share it?
You can share it, or Nitin can share it, whatever you are comfortable with. Nitin, would you like to share it, or would you like to, Dr. Kumutha, you would like to share yourself?
I can try.
Okay, no, then Nitin has your presentation.
Ma'am, I will do.
Please.
I will do.
Okay. 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 You please do it. Yes. Yes. Can you put it to full screen? Good evening, everyone. I'm very happy that Kaninika and Sphere India has organized such a nice early childhood development in the even despite the COVID situation where we can meet. In fact, COVID has taught us that distances are not remote any longer. Then we can connect with all this Zoom and webinars, and I'm really happy for that. And can I have my first slide? In fact, components of nurturing care, I think Dr. Kananika would have already told. All of us know that the development is a product of what we derive from our parents, that is the genetic potential. And the second one is the environment in which we live. That is what is either do we get the right nutrition, right health care, or are we having the right stimulation? That's the third point. These are the three important things. Of course, creating more opportunities and security and safety. So these are the components of nurturing care. Let us see how we can do it in the antenatal care or even in the pre-conception period. Next slide, please. Okay, so in fact, Kanika requested me to do the antenatal care. I thought I'll just touch a little bit on the pre-conception package. See, it is very, very important. Yes, seed has to be sowed in the land and the soil. The soil has to be optimal. The same way, a girl, if she has to carry a child, she has to have an optimal environment. For that, the most important period is a girlhood or adolescent period. And as Dr. Kaninika said, the greatest problem we have as far as adolescent girls are concerned is stunting, chronic malnutrition. I do have mothers who are only 35 kgs after delivery. See, that is the status of our nutritional status, which is very, very important. And this is wherein our ICDS and other areas of IYCF and breastfeeding promotion, all that has to take off. And I feel as NGOs and CSOs, you could help a lot to produce a behavior change in the people, to start promoting breastfeeding from the beginning, and then giving optimal complementary feeds so that the child, especially the girl child, grows without chronic malnutrition and she's ready to bear the child. That is number one. And number two is immunization, especially vaccine preventable diseases like rubella. Rubella has now recently been introduced into the national immunization program after a lot of struggle, and we have had a lot of problems with congenital rubella, and the child starts with a wrong genetic potential in congenital rubella. So that is another thing which we have to take care of. And the third important thing is mental health. Is any girl or a woman is ready to accept marriage, or is she ready to have a child? Most of the time, pregnancies do happen as an incident after marriage. It is not any preparation is going or any planning is there. So we have to create that behavior in all our parents and families, that pregnancy should be planned and they should be ready for it. And mental health, many of the women undergo a lot of stress just pre-pregnancy or during pregnancy, which goes a long way in getting the developmental outcome. These are the three important points. There are other points like sexually transmitted diseases and other things, but 4 points I want to stress. One is the nutrition, the second one is the mental health, number 3 the vaccine preventable diseases prevention, and number 4 is identifying any pre-existing medical conditions. See, we have had mothers who have had heart disease. Even if she has a heart disease and if she's in a heart failure, she's made to get married to bear a child, and whether she's ready for that, whether that heart condition has been fixed or properly treated, or whether she's got juvenile diabetes or diabetes of type 1. What does she have? Does she have any autoimmune diseases? All that have to be looked into, and she should be prepared for becoming a pregnant mother. So that is the most important thing. So before we do marriage, all these 4 important things we have to see that the nutrition is improved, And in nutrition, not only chronic malnutrition, we have another problem, which is anemia. And of course, thanks to the weekly iron folic acid, in fact, in Tamil Nadu, we did a screening for hemoglobinopathies in school children. And we have found that our hemoglobin levels are now slightly better after weekly iron supplementation. But if you look at any ordinary family, the children who are not going to government school, they are not on any iron supplementation. We do assume that they get good nutrition, good food, but if you do their hemoglobin, seldom we do have children above 11 grams of hemoglobin. So that is another important thing. So please, even in your own family, if you have adolescent girls, see that they have iron containing food, or at least weekly supplementation of iron is a mandate, so that their hemoglobin levels are optimal before they can bear a child. Can I have the next slide, please? And I just want to talk a little bit, touch on prenatal brain development. Don't get perturbed looking at the picture. But what the picture shows, that by 3 weeks itself, the brain development starts. That means 3 weeks before the woman knows that she is pregnant. By then, the neural development starts. And by 25 weeks, most of the synaptic structural formation starts happening. So that means we think, okay, once a baby is born, we have to stimulate, once a baby is born, we have to give this, these are the things. But there are so many changes which are occurring in the central nervous system, especially in the brain development. You should see that this starts from 3 weeks and continues into the first trimester and the second trimester. And the myelination is the one which starts by 28 to 40 weeks. That means in the uterus itself, many of the brain development is occurring, starting, and many things are happening. You know, myelination is one thing, that is a covering of the nerves by a sheath that makes the stimulus travel faster. So that is a very important thing if we have to do many of the things. See, if I just touch something, and for me to feel everything to go fast into my brain, and I have to react if it is hard, not to touch it. So if I have a myelin sheath in my nerves, the impulse from my hand travels very fast. So this process happens by the 28 weeks, that is end of second trimester, in the third trimester itself. So we know that is why everybody is saying that first 1000 days are important, and the first 270 days in the womb is even so more important. Next. And again, to continue and say that 4 months myelination continues, adolescence synaptogenesis, that means many cells are getting connected. And there is another thing which happens, which is called as pruning, synaptic pruning. If the neurons are not getting connected properly, that means if the baby is by some reason, either by birth weight or by disease or by some insult, or if there is lack of stimulation, then the baby's neurons, brain neurons are not, brain cells are not getting connected. That means if they are not well connected, that connection is not made wired, then the cells start getting into apoptosis. That means they are going to die. That is what we call as synaptic pruning. So if you don't stimulate the child, many of the cells would not get connected, and many of the cells would lose its function. So this is what is very, very important. So the care we have to give during the prenatal period, because many of the developmental process of the brain is occurring in the womb, and it happens, continues soon after birth, also in the first 1000 days, after that in the first 2 years of life. And unless you do your stimulation and keep your environment very good with love and care, or disease free, then we are going to have problems and synaptic pruning, and the child's cognitive function would not be optimal. See, our aim is to get it to the fullest genetic potential. See, what the baby is bestowed with, we should make the baby develop. And that is what is very, very important. And that is why we need to understand that the first 1,000 days are important. See, there is no point in after that giving any amount of nutrition. Again, many of the studies have told it is not only nutrition, but also the responsive stimulation, which coupled with both, that only improves the development much more than nutrition alone. So this point we should understand. Next. So like again, if you look at, I told you the processes which are happening, but we should know that what is making the brain develop very well. So there are three components in the brain development. One is a mother who is providing all the nutrition for the growth, and the fetus, and who is receiving it, the baby who is receiving it, and the placenta. Now they found that placenta is not only just an organ which transfers all the nutritions to the baby and gets all the waste material back to the mother. They found that it is endowed with a lot of genomic function. That means the placenta has got a lot of gene expression. If the placenta is only healthy, then you will have a good gene expression and good function of the body, and more so in the brain. So that is why this maternal placental fetal relationship begins in the 3rd, 4th week post-conception. So this is what you have to understand. The brain development starts by 3rd week, and the relationship of the maternal placenta and fetal also starts by 3rd and 4th. And the placenta expresses 40 to 60% of the human genome. That means, I said genome is a very, the genetic potential is the most important thing, what we inherit from our parents. But if you want 100% expression of those genes, and we have to have the placenta well. And if you have to have the placenta well, then they should, the nutrition of the mother should be good, and the mother should be disease free, and the mother should not have any toxic substances. She should not take, she should not have any substance abuse. So this is an important science evidence. Today we are seeing that the placenta produces a lot of cytokines, hormones, neurotransmitters, growth factors, a lot of substances. These words may appear very bombarding, but what you should understand that placenta is an important organ which coordinates with the production of very important factors which are essential for the growth of the brain. So that is what is very, very important. Next. So, like, we should also understand what is happening in the mother. See, the mother undergoes a lot of physiological changes. See, especially in the blood. If you look at her, she's got more increased clotting, and she's got iron deficiency, anemia, physiologically. See, that is why, like, if a woman is already deficient, pregnancy is going to make her even more anemic. And if she's got more anemia, or that means less hemoglobin, then her fetal growth is not going to be good. So that is why we should understand already a normal woman itself undergoes a lot of changes which will handicap her. But if you have already a handicapped person, then pregnancy is going to increase that gap and then make the fetal growth very, very suboptimal. So that is very important. And again, the heart changes. If you look at the heart is pumping higher cardiac output, higher load. But if a woman is healthy and normal, she can handle that higher extra function. But if her heart is already diseased, let us say she's got a congenital heart disease or a rheumatic heart disease which is not fixed, then this load is much higher. Then she will not produce the optimal cardiac output needed for her baby. So that is why we see, if you look at the maternal death audit, we will see a lot of women who are heart disease dying because they are unable to cope up the physiological changes which are occurring. The physiology has become pathology there. That means what should be normally be handled by a woman who is healthy, she can't handle. So that is a very important thing which we have to say. And another important thing which the mood and behavior changes because of the hormone is very, very important. Again, if you look at if we have born children, you know, our behavior during pregnancy was not the same as non-pregnancy, because a lot of mood changes do occur because of the endocrine changes women undergoes, and so a lot of support is needed. you should know why such a support is needed. I'll show you in the next slide. So what we should understand, there are a lot of physiological changes occurring in a pregnant woman. She would be able to cope up only if she is healthy earlier. And if she is not going to healthy, and if you're not going to take care of her health, both mental health and physical health, and she is going to meet with a lot of problems in supplying the nutrients and proper maternal fetal placental relationship. So this is very, very important. This part has to go into all the family and parents. All of us should say that they should understand what a woman is undergoing, a lot of changes, and if that changes can be handled properly, if you have a fairly good good nutrition and healthy status beforehand. So it doesn't matter even if she has some problem before pregnancy, if you can fix it. That is why we are saying screen for diabetes, hypertension. If she's got some autoimmune diseases, SLE, which can all affect, fix it properly, and then allow her to have a planned pregnancy, then she can have a better growth of her child and also better health for her child, and then she can handle pregnancy and delivery much better. So this part of antenatal care. So that is why it becomes imperative that all women, I have interacted with many pregnant women. They're saying, why should we keep on doing the blood test each time we go? They've done my test once. Why should I keep on doing? See, because the changes which starts in the first trimester progresses. And in the second trimester and third trimester, if you see the hypertension, increase in BP, it starts occurring only in the early second trimester and the end of second trimester. So if you look at it in the first trimester, and if her BP is normal, we can't give her a clean chit. So that is why, like, each pregnancy visit, all the mandatory tests have to be undergone. That is why we say the ANM who is doing it, or the primary hospital which is checking the women, should see that all the parameters are within normal, or if it is found abnormal, they have to give a treatment so that she can have a better pregnancy health status. Next. So this is an important slide. It looks little busy, but what we should understand is, if a woman undergoes stress, emotional stress, if we know a lot of women undergo violence or even emotional, and if now they've started working, so they have to handle work at home and work outside, and also pregnancy. So the stress mostly affects the hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal cortex, adrenal gland. We know that adrenal gland is an organ of emergency. It's an endocrine organ. So if any woman undergoes stress, it affects the amygdala, that is one portion of the brain. And so it sends signals to the hypothalamus and the pituitary to make the adrenal cortex secrete cortisol. This is an hormone which we secrete in the stress. So if you have cortisol, adrenaline and noradrenaline, which are hormones of stress, that is fright and fright, then your placental circulation is not going to be good. That means the transfer of nutrients or the blood supply to the baby is not going to be optimal if a woman is stressed. So that is why it is very important that we look after the mental health. That is why we are saying that like antenatal checkup, please allow the father inside. Allow the attender inside. Please explain to them, counsel them how they have to look after the mother. It is many a time in busy hospitals, especially when we are very crowded, we don't even allow the partner to come inside and see what's happening to that woman. We don't allow any attenders because in our busy schedule, we think extra person is going to be crowd for us. But please don't neglect them or discourage them from attending the sessions of antenatal checkup unless we include the family. We have done the mistake as doctors. I have done it as a young doctor, but we should now include the family in all these, explain all these things. Don't think they can't understand. In simple language, all this can be explained to the mother, not in a very frightening manner, but we have to say that these are the things which they have to understand. And I find now that couple counseling and having group counseling of peer group, that is going a long way. In our hospital, in a small way, we have started the parental education and allowing one attender, at least one or two attenders during the antenatal checkup, and counseling them goes a long way, why they should undergo all the proper antenatal care. Next. So, and the another important scientific evidence which has emerged both in humans and animals is that if a woman undergoes social, psychological, and physical exposures when she is pregnant, that affects her fetus. That means it is generational transmission of risk. See, she's not only she's at risk, but also she's transmitting the risk to her child, so that that child has got psychiatric disorders, dysregulated physiology, and they go for lifestyle adult diseases. That means, say, let us say I am pregnant, then I undergo a lot of physical and mental stress while I'm pregnant. Then my child undergoes the same stress. As I told you, all these adrenal cortisol hormones go, and this cortisol hormones from the mother also go to the baby, and then that baby's brain development also gets affected, and that baby, when the baby grows, has a lot of psychiatric disorders and a lot of going into a lot of behavioral disorders, and also they go for adult onset lifestyle diseases also. So please understand, that is why in our maybe Puranas, everybody said that looking after pregnant women in the multiple ways. If you look at the socio-cultural practices of our country, in fact, they were all conducive for pregnancy in many ways. I could go on talking about the cultural practices which are very beneficial for a pregnant woman, but somehow in the middle we have lost those cultural practices which are beneficial. We dumped all the cultural practices as bad, and then went on saying to them, don't do this, don't do that, don't do that. But we should identify what is behavior wise very good for the pregnant women, and then encourage it. Next. So what are the actual prenatal interventions? All the packages of both WHO, UNICEF, our government of India, Ministry of Health has done it. So again, this routine antenatal care with nutrition. So please don't just check the weight of the woman and say your weight is 40 kg. That's all. We should see that. Like in adolescence itself, we prepare her, and again, once if we find her weight, do something to improve her nutrition. Just giving an advice in a hospital and saying have a nutritious meal in a chit is not going to help. We should link with the community workers. We have got Ashas, we have got Anganwadi workers, and we have take-home ration. Now ICDS is giving excellent food in Tamil Nadu. I know other states also. Nicely packed take-home ration for both pregnant and lactating women. Encourage all the family. In fact, now my middle class and upper middle class patients are taking that, because I keep on saying that ICDS food is good. You can go and have it. So likewise, the nutritional supplementation, iron and folic acid supplementation, and then checking for all illnesses at each visit, and then checking the fetal growth. Even today, I had a 36-weeker. That means almost 9 months old child having a weight of 1.3 kg. Born to a 38 years old mother who had the previous child 12 years, and she was not at all planned for this pregnancy. She was hypertensive, diabetic, and incidentally this pregnancy happened, and she had a very poor liquor, and her baby was only 1.3 kg. So these sort of things, even today it is happening. So we should take care of both the first, second, and the third trimester care very well. So this checking for blood pressure, checking for glucose, oral glucose tolerance test, checking for urine albumin each time, checking for hemoglobin, ensuring that if the hemoglobin is less, you can give iron sucrose solution, or if the mother has got less than 7, if she needs blood transfusion, we have to do, and proper tracking. And this community link is the most important thing. I would say that our Tamil Nadu right now, we are having very good mother tracking with this MCP card, and every mother, including the private sector, is registered in our PICME portal. So we now have a mechanism. At least earlier we were saying private is not included, but now all pregnant women, including private and public sector, are registered in a single portal where we can track what is happening, EDD tracking, and whatever is lot of groups are there where they do the community linking. So that sort of linking is very, very essential. So let us say if a doctor sees and says, okay, you have such a problem, you have to do this, and she goes on, she's got all other priorities, she doesn't do anything. But if a ANM, village health nurse, or an Anganwadi worker is linked and encourages her to go and seek medical attention, then gets the problem fixed, and then allows proper growth, that is wherein our prenatal interventions could help. And again, intrapartum care.
Madam, if I may just interfere.
Yeah,
Fascinating hearing you, but you have to speed it
up. I'll just be fast, because you said prenatal. I thought I'll spend.
Yes. No, definitely, it's very nice and everybody is enjoying, but a little fast.
Okay, so and then intrapartum care also. So simple interventions during intrapartum care can go a long way in ECD. Next slide, please. And see, the maximum economic returns has come only in the prenatal care. You could see the best returns has come in the prenatal and the immediate neonatal care. Next. Like in fact, our Tamil Nadu has got this MRMBS with 2 nutrition kit we have added. You can see all these women having that green basket. It has got a health mix powder, protein powder, IFA syrup, dates, and we have protein biscuits, and we have got ghee also, and albendazole, that is deworming medicine. So these 2 nutrition kits are given during the 3rd month and also in the 2nd trimester, which is add-on to the ICDS take-home ration. Next. And during delivery, the simple action, this is one thing I want all of you as NGOs also ask for it. Put the baby, delivery onto the mother's abdomen to have skin-to-skin contact. This is the best stimulation we can do for the health. Can you just click on? It says why, at least for 1 hour, not just delivering and putting the baby onto the mother's chest and then taking the baby away. Now the recommendation is we have to keep the baby and the mother for early skin to skin contact for at least 1 hour. Next. You know that if you separate, if you just keep the mother and baby, there is good regulation. If you separate, again there is dysregulation. Again, cortisol, instead of growth hormone, we have cortisol in the baby. Again, as I told you, cortisol diverts all the calories from neurological growth. So that is why we don't want cortisol. Simple thing, if you don't want cortisol, keep the baby and the mother together. It's a simple intervention all of us can do, but it is not being practiced in all the institutions. That has to be promoted. Next. And again, early initiation of breastfeeding. Again, I think many of Kanika would have spoken about how it is important. But if you look at the early initiation with almost 80 to 90% institutional delivery, ours is only hovering around 55. That means all babies who are born in this country, within 1 hour, they should get their first breastfeeding, which is not happening. You look at this baby, how alert this baby is soon after birth. All babies can take, don't think babies would go to sleep. So this early initiation of breastfeeding within 1 hour is the most important intervention we have to do immediately at birth. Next. Like I've covered most of this, breastfeeding, immunization, and diet diversity. I think Kanika covered in our MCP card. I would not go through, but stimulation is the most important thing. Next. Next. So again, there are a lot of babies. This is for normal babies. As Dr. Kanika said, there are a lot of babies who are getting admitted in our SNCUs. So what are the care where you are there you want to give developmentally supportive care? See, not only give look after a sick and small newborns, but there are certain important measures which we have to do for also babies who are in SNCU. Next slide, please. Next slide. And again, this is another important intervention where we have added, this is Amma Baby Care Kit. All the mothers who deliver in government institutions get this kit. You can see two pictures. One is a rattle and a toy. So from word go, from birth itself, we want the mothers to stimulate the baby. And we thought telling is not going to happen. So we have added this in the kit, which is also infection control, very important, which is the best environment for the baby to grow without any infection. So all that is added here, and developmentally supportive care we have thought from birth to add it in the baby care kit so that the mother will start stimulating the baby from birth itself. Next. Like in sick and small infants, as I told you, there could be a great imbalance between what you are trying to do, that is stimulation, and overstimulation. See, those babies undergo a lot of stimulation. That means I intubate the baby, I give intravenous fluid, I prick the baby, I give all these injections, and all that is causing a lot of stress and pain. So how am I going to reduce all this pain in the nurseries? That means in the intensive case where we are doing. So we have what is called as positioning, nesting, swaddling, facilitated tuck and massage. These are the important things, and all these can be done only with the involvement of the family. Next slide, please. So that is why 5 core components of developmentally supportive care. We give the healing environment instead of giving in the nursery all injections, all medicines, all noises, all light, all that. Now we are taking care as a care provider, modulating that so that we give a healing environment, and we reduce the pain and stress, which is very important for good conducive growth. And we allow the parents, very, very important inside the nursery. It is not only the mother, it is not only the father. In fact, we do allow now grandparents also in the care of the nursery. This is what is more important today. All of us have to realize, and you also please demand in the hospitals that you be admitted, that you would be taken care of. And the protected sleep for the baby is the most important thing. I should not go, and if anybody have been in the hospital, you will know how many times a nurse would come and disturb you for many things. Likewise, now we are channelizing the disturbances for the baby in a sick baby so that they have a protected sleep for a good brain development. Next. And kangaroo care, this is the most important care, I feel, which stimulates all the senses. So when the baby is in the mother's chest, touch is happening. When the baby is near the mother, the baby is smelling the mother and the breast milk. And when the mother's heartbeat is beating, then the baby is hearing. And also when the baby is tasting the breast milk, taste is there. So all the 5 senses are stimulated when the baby is, and this is a baby who is born soon after birth. And even in the intensive care, you see intensive care setting, the mother and the baby are together for skin to skin contact, no separation, so that the mother is happy and the baby also is happy to grow in a very conducive environment. So kangaroo mother care, we promote kangaroo mother care in the nurseries for 12 to 18 hours in a day. How do we do it? That the mother, especially if she's undergone cesarean section, she can't do it herself. So we allow the father, we allow the grandfather, mama, mommy, uncle, aunt, anybody. Only we maintain hygiene before we allow the parents or grandparents to come and give. And this is really revolutionized in weight gain of the baby, developmentally supportive care, and also improving the exclusive breastfeeding in these small sick babies. So this is what we are doing for small and sick babies as a developmentally supportive care from the beginning. Next, please. And again, stimulation. I think all this I can forward it faster because Kanika already has spoken about this. And stimulation, again, including the father and the grandparents. Please don't think that father cannot do. He's very afraid of taking the baby. He does most of the stimulation very well. Next. And again, this is the HBYC kit, that is home-based young child kit. See, how are the babies in SNCU who are delivered? How they had so many problems. How are they going to be followed? They are going to be followed HBYC. Now we are implementing in 10 districts of Tamil Nadu, and Asha or Anganwadi worker are going to be involved. This is the simple kit with which they would do the assessment, also teach the parent how to stimulate the baby, and so they will do the checkups. Apart from the HBNC, which is 42 days, 6 visits, they will do 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, 15 months home visit and see early child development, which is an important component of the home-based young child care. So it is not only that the parents would come to the facility, but also they would be visited in the home and their development would be assessed, and any problem, dysregulation or any abnormal signs would be picked up early and they will be put on to the RBSKT. Next. So this is the RBSK job aid, where you will have both normal development, typical and abnormal development, which can be easily picked up. And so we have 800 RBSK teams in Tamil Nadu, at least 2 per block we have, and all this RBSK also does 2 Anganwadi visits in a year, and also does home visit of those SNCU babies, and also tribal babies, low birth weight babies, preterm babies. So special category also are given. So they do either the babies brought to the Anganwadi for the RBSK team to see, or if a baby cannot be brought, they also do sometimes home visit. So the doctors are trained to do this developmental assessment screening, and after that the babies refer to district early intervention centers. Next. And also in the district early intervention centers, we have 38, 1 per district, and we have 12 functionaries who would take care of the developmental, and they get trained for 14 days in developmental assessment and developmental therapy. And so we have trained people like a physiotherapist, occupational therapist, speech therapist, and dentist. So it is a holistic under one roof. The district early intervention center is connected by the 800 RBSK teams, and we are able to identify, and because it is also in the hospital where the SNCU is there, so the SNCU nodal officer and the district early intervention nodal officer, where there is a pediatrician, would look after the care of these babies. So we have both community link, and from the community it is also linked to the facility. So please, all of you, tell all these facilities are available in the government sector, and most of the states have implemented this, and so they can get the services from all government centers. And not only that, we have also added 40 block early intervention centers which are under SSA, Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan. So they also are interlinked with the district early intervention center. So we have moved to the block early intervention centers also, coordinating with the intersectoral coordination of SSA school education. And again in ICDS, we have this early childhood education also through Montessori method, and it is being implemented in most of the ICDS Anganwadis. Next slide, please. You could see this is an Anganwadi center where, see, the tiles have been put, many of the initiative by the Anganwadi worker with the local MLA, MP funds. They have done very, and they are given nice developmental stimulation kits. And so they undergo Montessori method of education. So children, what they need preschool stimulation, that is being given in the Anganwadi. So only thing we have to say that is, all the parents have to say they need not go to a school where they have to spend money, but their nearest place there is an Anganwadi. So please disseminate this message that such an education program is there in all the Anganwadis, ICDS, and they can benefit. Next. And also we have added another thing called as the ECD call center, which is also an initiative of Ministry of Health, where we have added 10. Already we have call centers for many other illnesses, and we have a dedicated number like 104, 102 and 108 is our emergency service. So in 102 we are going to add 10 trained nurses who will be giving information, counseling. Customized messages will be sent, and they will also see that established referral linkages for people who are having problem. This will cover pregnant mother and parents of every child up to the age of 2 years. So irrespective of whatever class, whether they avail government services or not. So the first 1,000 days would be the greatest focus, and this year only we have got the GO, and we would be implementing soon. And we have to see how the response is for this ECD call center. Next. So we need to have a different tier of implementation. As I told you, like universal services, and always don't say children. Please add the word families, because there's no point in just educating the mother or the father. We have to educate the families. All families less than 2 years, where we have to give universal services, and we have to have identified vulnerable families and children. It is not only the children risk, it is a family risk. Single parent, or if the mother is going out for work, nobody is there at home, they are in the tribal area, remote area, hard to reach places, all that have to be identified, and essential follow-up and targeted services we have to give. That is what we are trying to do with HBYC also. And of course, affected children need the maximum, though the number might be less. That is wherein our RBSK team and the District Early Intervention Center is working on reaching these children. And also this call center may also help us to pick up more. And our ICDS Anganwadi workers are also very helpful in identifying those babies who are deviant from normal development, and they are all the ones who are doing the early referral to RBSK team, and then they reach District Early Intervention Center and also rehabilitation centers to receive treatment. I think that's the last slide. Next. Okay, the call for action, of course, all of us urgently have to identify that early child development is an important component of not only child health, our economic growth. Unless the child develops well, his capacity to earn or capacity to be a good individual is going to be a problem. And we have to expand our access. And also we have, in fact, we have expanded access, but utilization of these services should be encouraged. Much more dissemination of the services available in various sectors have to be told to the people, and make them family friendly. This is another thing as a doctor I have realized, because I used to be only patient centric. Then I became mother centric, then I became parent centric, now I become family centric. That is wherein I think unless we have the family, and also we should have data. I saw Dr. Piyush Gupta's slide. He said no data on many things. Yes, we don't have any data, so we should start having data now. RBSK, they are going to have a software, and I think we would have data on how our babies are behaving. And through Poshan Abhiyan, we are having malnutrition status very well. So we are in the process of collecting certain data, which will go a long way in integrating all of our services. I feel as NGOs, your role is equally good, and you could make these messages reach the families and the parents so that they could look after their children well. Last slide, I think. So together we can always do it. And I think aptly, Kanika said you have spoken to doctors and nurses. In fact, I'm very happy that I could speak to you so that the reach could be much better. Because when we are in our own sphere, maybe the reach may not be optimal as we expect. I hope today's interaction would reach more families for them to benefit. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kumutha Madam. It's always fascinating to hear you. Sorry, I had to cut you short because we have other speakers, but she has, I mean, a very difficult and complicated subject. How you can make it very simple, we have just heard, and how she has taken us to the continuum of care. So thank you very much for that. Without much delay, I would like to now invite Dr. Nandita Chatterjee. Dr. Nandita Chatterjee is a developmental pediatrician. She is now attached to the MGM Medical College, and she has a long experience of working with the tribal communities in West Bengal, in Purulia district. She has experience of working with the frontline workers and the mothers, and she also mothers and children, and she also has headed a early intervention clinic, NGO run, which is usually not a very common thing to have in a remote block of Purulia. So I request Dr. Nandita Chatterjee to tell us that whether early childhood development promotion, is it possible everywhere in every household, even in the most disadvantaged household? And also a little bit share your experience on your work with the frontline workers as well as the parents and the children of the remote villages of the country. Over to you, Dr. Chatterjee. Please.
Thank you, Kanika. Thank you for the welcome and introduction. And it is my privilege to be here to talk about my experiences. And before I start, I would really like to thank Dr. Kumota for her wonderful presentation. And it's a wonderful work that is going on in Tamil Nadu. Let's hope all the states can take it up. So can I have my slides, please? Or should I share my slide? Okay, so from Dr. Kamuta, you already have a very comprehensive idea about what early childhood development is and what is to be done to achieve proper ECD for all. But our contention is ECD, yes, early childhood development for all children. And the question remains, can we do it? Now, before we go any further, let us just have a quick recap about the importance of early childhood too. Why are we thinking of the ECD in the first 3 years? Yes, first click. We already heard that the brain is growing at a prolific rate in the first 3 years. And could you please go on? This brain, this developing brain is highly plastic. What we mean by this is that the brain will grow, has a plasticity to grow in different forms according to the stimulation that the brain will develop, will get. So this is the period, these first 3 years, which will form the foundation for later success in life. Keeping this in mind, we can consider this as the window period. Yes, please go on. As the critical window period of opportunity when the brain can be shaped and the future of the child can also be shaped. That is where the first 3 years are so important. 0 to 3 here again means from the point of conception to 3 years of life. Next slide, please. Next slide. Now, all right. But why do we want to focus on early childhood development? If the child is developing properly up to 3 years, what will happen in later life? What's the result? Result is proper educational achievement that will lead to proper economic productivity. If the emotional status of the little child is properly developing, good emotional development, a stable emotional ability will gradually help this child to grow into a responsible citizen. There will be less crime. Health status will be good lifelong. And finally, the genetic endowment, which we were listening to in the previous talk, that this person will not only have a proper genetic endowment with the epigenetic changes in him, which will go on in him or her to the next generation. So together we can jolly well quote UNICEF that early childhood development is key to a productive life for a child and to the progress of a nation as well. Okay, so early childhood is important. Now the question is, then is all the children reaching their potential? Are all the children really getting the adequate optimum development? No, we are not. Statistics is showing that there are more than 250 million children in the world today. That is 43% of all children below 5 years who are not meeting the cognitive developmental potential. And India bears a major brunt here. A few figures will make it easier for us to understand. We know our childhood population, 0 to 6 years, is a big one. 13.2% of the population fall in the 0 to 6 category. And the total number of children in India, statistics, again, this is the 2011 census, which is saying the 0 to 6 year population is 15.9 crores, a huge number. And of them, 11.7 crores are in the rural setup. That is 17.4% of our children are from the rural community. And as we have already seen, 43% of all children are not reaching their potential. So it's a huge number we have to deal with. Next slide. So the question comes, can we reach them all? If we look at this picture of an iceberg, the tip is showing those children who have some developmental challenges, they need treatment, fine. But what about the rest of the children that are submerged below the water? That huge number of children, are they developing to the best of their potential? Next click. No, many are not. So this is the population that we need to address. Next slide. So today, to us, the major issues are, now firstly, the rural community must be addressed. Then comes in the question, address for what? Improving ECD. So what are the factors that are causing an hindrance to optimum ECD? Also, we need to know what do we mean by optimum early childhood development. So what are the indicators of ECD? So without this background knowledge, we cannot go forward with our ECD implementation. Another issue is that we need to reach the level, how to get there, right up to these kids. Next slide. So going back to our questions, what are the hindrances? Risk factors may be medical or social. Medical factors like the neonatal risk factors, perinatal risk factors, genetic disorders, poor nutrition, illness, they all come under the health nutrition issue, which has been very clearly dealt with by my previous speaker. Then there are certain social factors which are equally important, like lack of stimulation of the child, poor parenting, neglect, abuse, poverty. They need to be addressed equally with equal importance if we really want to improve the early childhood development. Next slide. So let us take a deeper look at the social determinants. What is it that is lacking at various places? Parenting skills. Parents are not aware about how to stimulate a child. The environment the child is growing in is not adequately stimulating. The living conditions may not be proper. Poverty is a major issue. Then comes in abuse, neglect, substance abuse in the family, war, famine, and other social factors, gender bias. All of these are social determinants of early childhood development. Well, if you look at it from a different angle, for proper early childhood development, who are the persons directly working with the children? It's the parents, the primary caregivers. So issues with the parents may be determinants of inadequate childhood development. So let us look at what we need to focus on in case of the parents. Parenting skills primarily. Many parents are not aware about how to rear a child, what to do to stimulate a child. So, next slide, please. Yes. And then for mothers, the maternal physical health and mental health, both are equally important. Maternal education is a burning problem. Adolescent parenting, consanguinity, unwanted pregnancies, inadequate birth spacing, all of these are very pertinent problems directly related to early childhood development. Next slide. So with this background, I would like to share our experience working with children in the rural area, we have been working with UNICEF in collaboration with UNICEF on projects related to early childhood development in the remote district of Purulia in West Bengal. So with this background, we wanted to find out what were the hindering factors in our community. So we started off with a door-to-door survey based on the MICS 4 brought out by UNICEF. You can see these pictures of the survey going on. So what was the result? Next slide. What we came to see was very much in line with what I was just discussing. The major factor was in association with poor ECD was poor maternal education. Also adolescent parenting, inadequate birth spacing, definite gaps in child rearing practices, not knowing exactly what to do with a little child, lack of awareness about early development. A baby is born, the baby will grow, the baby will develop. What is there to be known about development was also not clear. Poor parenting skills, poverty, gender bias, and socioeconomic barriers, they were all there. But the silver lining was that whenever we talked to the mothers, there was definite, mothers and fathers as well, there was definite eagerness to support the child. I will be showing certain pictures as we go on, where you will see it's not just working with the kids and the mothers. You will see other people standing just behind us, listening, watching with interest. That is what I guess we need to harp on, the interest of the community. Build it up. Next slide. So with this background, now we were going to start working. What are the problems in delivering services? First of all, again, I repeat, lack of awareness at all levels, starting from the parents, the field level workers, the officials at different levels, the policymakers. There is a dearth of awareness regarding early childhood development. The dearth of trained manpower is also very, very important. And on one hand, there was dearth of trained manpower. On the other hand, a huge population to be addressed. Next slide. So we went in to look for, next slide, please. We went in to look for the recommendations from the global bodies. Like WHO recommendations were very clear cut. Training of health workers was a mandate. Otherwise, we could not go forward. A life cycle approach, which has been very well explained by Dr. Kumutha in the previous lecture. So that is very important. It's not just the child, it's the family, it's the woman in the full life cycle that needs to be looked into. And whatever we do needs to be a family-centered monitoring, not just taking care of the child, getting directly to the family. Hence, it has to be through intense home visits. And all of this, to make it doable, needs to be incorporated in the existing healthcare delivery package. If we think of a new program, a new scheme, a new group of people, that would become much more difficult. Rather, we would try to incorporate it into what is already going on by adding on the ECT component in a big way. That is being done, and which Dr. Konunika has already shown through the MCPC card, that this incorporation is happening. Next slide. So now our project was starting, where the main objective was to train the field level workers, and through the field level workers, create an awareness among parents by home visits. The field level workers would go to the homes and create a parental awareness. And we would assess the impact of the home visits on the parental awareness and impact of parental awareness on ECD of the children. Next slide. So all this training that we were planning were based on the nurturing care framework that you have heard about previously. But there are 5 components in the nurturing care framework: good health and adequate nutrition. These 2 we have already discussed. These 2 we are all working on for a long time. The child, starting from antenatal, natal, postnatal care, and then care in ill health, immunization, nutrition. We have schemes in place and work is going on. But the areas which are new to come in are the responsive caregiving. Next click, please. What do we mean by responsive caregiving. Caregivers are taking care of children, but there should be a responsiveness. Every child gives a cue, gives a hint. When the little baby is hungry, the baby cries. The mother picks up the baby and feeds the baby. This is giving a response to the cue given by the child. And starting with this cry, as the child keeps growing up, he keeps on giving cues. It is for us to pick up that cue and respond, which is nicely coined as serve and return. So this methodology has to be spread amongst the parents and caregivers to understand. Coming to the issue of security and safety. Safety, security at home and in the community. Prevent undue punishment or aggressive behavior on the child, prevent domestic violence, prevent any sort of social violence, and by this manner prevent toxic stress on the child, which may hamper child and mother as well, which may hamper brain development in a large way. Then we come to opportunities for early learning, where we focus on a stimulating environment. Stimulating environment means the persons and the things in the environment which will stimulate a child to learn. So these things were brought into focus in the training that we had conducted. Next slide, please. Next slide. I will, could you go back to the previous slide? Yes. Before I go into the training, all that we were talking about, that is the psychomotor stimulation and proper responsive care, all this should be made available to the child in a child-friendly manner. And the best way of relating to a child is through play. So a lot of our training was focused on what and how to play with a child. Why play? Because as I always say, play, that is P-L-A-Y, play, is not just child's play. It is something very important in the development, the neurodevelopment of a child, because that is the mode of interaction with the surroundings. That is through play, a child learns to interact with the toys and with people, with society. He learns to communicate, to negotiate. He learns to imagine and pretend. So it's a major tool for brain development. Next slide. Yes. So this is play. Next picture. These are play. Next picture. This is also play. So what I mean to show in this picture is that play doesn't equate to costly toys. Play equates to enjoyment, thinking, doing something innovative in a childlike fashion. Next slide. Okay, so with this, we took up a training, and in the last project, we had trained 550 field level workers, which included ASHA, A&M, and Anganwadi workers from 2 blocks in Purulia. It was a 3-day training where we were focusing on all of these issues that I have been talking of, and we were using the MCPC card to reinforce the training. Next slide. And after the training, there was also, it didn't stop with this 3 days training at what should I say, a didactic training. It was supplemented with on-site training of field level workers during home visits. That is, the field level workers were going to the homes and our trainers were accompanying them. There was hand-holding, constant hand-holding by the specialists. Moreover, we were trying to reach out to the parents through home-based care, and we were also conducting mothers group meetings, FGDs, thereby empowering the parents with what they should do. And a regular monitoring was going on. All this continued for a total period of like 1.5 years till this COVID situation broke out. Yes, exactly. HBYC was to come in right after this, and we are happy to have started on the same line as the government is thinking of doing and doing right now. Next slide. So I'll just share some pictures to give you an idea of what was going on. We had started with didactic lectures. Next slide. See the participants. engrossed. Next. Yes. Next. Then from the didactic lectures, we go on to hands-on training. You can see hand washing practicing. And then on the table, direct demonstration of early intervention methodology, how to play with children, how to teach children, how to do early intervention. Next slide. These were done in small groups. Next. Then came the on-site training. In the on-site training, you can see here, this is an ICDS worker, and she's sitting with the mothers and the little children. And what we were insisting, mostly in the ICDS workers are doing good work, but they're focusing on the 3+ children, 3 to 6. Every time we went in for training, we would tell the mothers to come in with their younger self, the younger kids. So you can see smaller ones sitting here also. These are less than 3. Just a minute, please go back to the previous slide. Here. So here you see this is the ICDS worker, and here is our trainer who is helping her to do this on-site training. Yes, next. This health worker is explaining the MCPC card guided by the trainer beside her. Next. Similar things going on. We are focusing more on the small child. Then comes the on-site demonstration. You can see our specialist demonstrating early intervention methods. Next slide. Yes. And in each slide, you will be seeing a lot of smaller kids who were not coming previously. Next. Yes, on-site demonstration going on. Then we go on. Now the field level workers start working independently. Next. So the same lady who was being supervised in the previous slide, now she is actively doing her training part with the parents and interaction with the parents. Next. Here you see this FLW is explaining the MCPC card on her own. Next slide. Not only that, innovations have started. They have picked up an interest in ECD, and they are innovating a lot of things. These things were not there in the ICDS when we had first gone, but these changes are coming on. Next. This was there, but what was not there, we'll see in the next slide. Next slide, please. Here, this is something devised by the worker, how to count, teaching the little child to count. So these are independent innovations by the FLWs. Next slide. So what was our motion? We were aiming at a cascading of knowledge from the specialist team down to the field level workers, from there to the parents. Not only that, there was a feedback. Please, next click. A feedback from the parents to the FLWs, from the FLWs to the specialist team, and also from the parents, next click, parents to the specialist team. Thus, with the feedback, it was a dynamic process. We were constantly changing our mode of approach. Next slide. So we have started working this way, and we do expect, this is my last slide, with a request that we truly believe together we can all help all of these flowers bloom. It's not a partial blooming. We expect them all to bloom, and all of you can join in, and maybe with that, we can take it forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chatterjee. It was really good to hear, and I mean that you shared your experience of working in the remote area of West Bengal, and actually the tools that they use for the work, that the stimulation, they are almost no cost. Not only low cost, they are almost no cost. I don't think you could see that. There were certain small things which the family members, the parents can use for stimulating the child. Those are actually fascinating. But it's very interesting to know that this work started before the HBYC program came in. And there's a lot of similarity. Of course, here the most of the work was with the Anganwadi workers rather than with the Ashas. But a lot of similarity is there, how the home visits can improve stimulation, how the home visit can improve the parenting skills, and how the home visit do improve early childhood development. And yes, it is possible to reach to the most remote areas also with these simple but very effective means. Thank you. So now we have our next and the last speaker of the day. She is Miss Shubhra Chatterjee, who is the director and co-founder of Vikramshila Education Resource Society. And it is an NGO based in Kolkata. And Vikramshila is currently partnering with UNICEF in different states: West Bengal, Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, and Rajasthan. And Ms. Chatterjee, who's been working in the field of early childhood education for a very long time, is also a member of the education subcommittee of Confederation of Indian Industries in Eastern India. And she has worked as a member of the advisory group on curriculum development for early childhood education with NCERT as well. So I would request Ms. Chatterjee to talk about the work that they are doing with overall, give a little, tell us a little bit about parenting of 0 to 3, but rather 3 to 6, that work that she does. But more importantly, I would like her to focus on the work that they have been doing with the ICDS center during the COVID times, because we know during COVID times, many of the Anganwadi centers have closed down. So, sometimes it is not possible for the Anganwadi workers to open the Anganwadi centers. Only home visits are being done. Some, rations are being given in many of the states. But during this very, very difficult situation, how they are still trying to stimulate the children, how they are trying to teach the mothers for responsive parenting. We would like to hear that from Ms. Chatterjee, please.
Thank you, Konika. I would like to start with a disclaimer that unlike my previous speakers, I am not an expert, and I will speak as a practitioner. But as a practitioner who has been kind of knee deep into this process, I have come to realize the importance of parenting, extreme importance to educate parents and caregivers, strengthen their knowledge and skills, to work on their attitude, behavior, practice, so that they are able to provide appropriate care, health, nutrition opportunities for learning. With UNICEF, we have been very fortunate to work in several states, and in 2 states like Maharashtra and West Bengal, we are doing this responsive parenting program. I will talk about more specifically of West Bengal, my own state today. In West Bengal, we were working with on ECE since 2012, but last year a parenting component was introduced because, as Dr. Nandita Chattopadhyay rightly felt, that the focus was too much was on 3 to 6, whereas we all know that the first 1,000 days, it's so there was a slide that I had sent, just to get pictures running, Konika, if Nitin can help. It's got nothing to do with what it's got something to do, but this is not a PowerPoint presentation, but just to distract people from, just listening. So there are just nice pictures of children in families, getting a lot of stimulation. To come back to West Bengal, so it was started last year and it was very successful. The parenting sessions, the face-to-face parenting sessions were very successful. But then 2020, this COVID happened and the lockdown happened. And we felt that, this was not a time to do pilots. We have to reach out to all the 1,16,000 Anganwadis in the state. And we developed a 12-week calendar. At that time, we thought that it's going to end in 12 weeks. So 12-week calendar, we sent a pictorial calendar, which we sent out to parents along with some audio clips, because now it was no longer possible to hold face-to-face sessions. So, and this calendar was, a lot of thought went into designing the calendar. We also consciously thought of young children, 2 years, 3 years, tried to give a lot of sensory inputs and, playing with clay with their hands, stirring paper, crumpling, those kinds of activities. And we were also very careful that, they needed minimum resources and could be done with things available at home. I'm happy to say that after all, and this program has continued, which is such a big thing, and we are now into the 3rd phase of the program, and it has reached more than 15 lakh children. But the government is still not happy. They want to reach out to the other 15 lakhs, and they are trying other means like the television, the radio, and so that, those who do not have access to phones, how can we reach out to them, maybe try out the print media. So I'm very, very, heartwarming to see the kind of response and the pictures that we got back from the communities. A lot of fathers, grandparents. This is what we really feel that should be done. They came together and around the child, they created a very stimulating home environment, and they said as much. I will share a very short 5-minute film soon after, but just for 5 minutes, I will just talk generally about what I feel about parenting. One thought that came to my mind while I was listening to everything, all the experts, that if it is so important, the first 6 years, it is so important, first 1,000 days, it's so important. Why don't we have parenting education for all? Like people like us, we go through 15, 16, 18 years of education without knowing this at all. And I think this should be made somewhere a compulsory subject in our syllabus now that we have come to know. Because parenting is the most, and parenting is the most important. UNICEF has said in one of its, I was looking up. If it is so important, we all basically do a trial and error job. We make a lot of mistakes, well, those can be avoided. And they mean so much. They can alter the life of a person, change the trajectory. So I think parenting education is not only, yes, it is very important for parents from socio-economically disadvantaged backgrounds, from an equity perspective, but even from normal, it's not only, you are altering the course of a child's life, you're altering the course of the family's trajectory, of the country, of the nation. I mean, it's so important that, parenting should be given more its due importance in our overall education system, not just through these seminars. Somewhere it should have a central place. The most important job, imagine, we just plunge into it without any kind of training or information. Now, responsive parenting, whatever I have gathered about the term responsive parenting, it means understanding the child's needs and responding appropriately. It sounds like common sense, but believe it, it's not as simple as it sounds. Parents with low exposure and education need to be taught about responsive parenting, how to observe the child, how to be alert and sensitive to her needs, her emotions, trying to understand the cues that a child is given for you to kind of serve and return that Dr. Chattopadhyay was talking about. Try to get those cues, how to deal sensitively when the child has a temper tantrum. And most importantly, I feel that from an educationist perspective, I feel that, it's so important to talk to your child all the time, even when the child has not started speaking. Many people feel that, what is the use of talking to my child? My child just doesn't talk. But, it's talk. Talk is so important. And I feel that, we should parents should be made aware of it. And the early stimulation program is the set of activities that we have shown, and these slides are also, showing some such activities. And parents, they need to be, I feel, some kind of coaching, some kind of encouragement, direct demonstration, not only parents, but all caregivers, so that, their attitude, their child rearing practices can be altered. And with this, we enter an upward spiral. When parental knowledge is improved, we get a better stimulating home environment. And when we get a better, stimulating home environment, when we have sensitive parent-child interaction, we see positive outcomes, life outcomes in a child. And talking about stimulation, there are so many things that you can do, but I would like to just flag 3 very key kind of things that I feel are important. One is the importance of interaction. The human brain needs interaction, and I increasingly am so perturbed when I see that 18-month-old infant, the mother is feeding, the child doesn't want to eat. She has just opened the TV or has a mobile in front of her to distract or to entertain the child. But this is the worst kind of thing that the mother, but that is the worst thing to do, is to expose such a young child to the digital media, because the digital media cannot interact. And unless you interact, the brain doesn't respond and the brain doesn't grow. So the importance of interaction, even when the mother is very busy, when the caregivers are busy, while they are going around their usual household chores, so much of conversation. The kitchen is such a wonderful place. Washing clothes, bathing, these are wonderful opportunities for interaction, for talking to the child, and, enlarging the child's vocabulary and, general cognitive abilities. The second point is, again, I'm looking at it from the lens of an educator, is rich language inputs, which we were very careful while designing the package. We sent them stories which were very suitable and for all age groups. And we used to say, this is for a very young child, this is for an older child, this is for this age child. Stories, rhymes, songs, how to have conversations, what kind of conversations you can have with your child. So a language rich environment, creating that. How can you do it at home? So this is what we tried to address. And third, as Dr. Chatterjee was talking about, was play. The third key experience is, I think, play promotes learning. Through play, children. Achha, well, this slide is not moving. It was supposed to move. What has happened? I don't know. Had a lot of it. Yes. Play promotes learning, and through play, children learn so many things. They learn about attributes of different objects. They learn language. When they are playing together, they learn social skills. It is important to remember that for play, as Dr. Chatterjee was talking about, you do not need to give them fancy gadgets. In fact, in our calendar, we have not even given a single toy. It was all things like dupatta, clothes and kitchen utensils and stuff like that. And when we actually did a survey when of how the program was going, and we were told that children enjoy those the most. The children did enjoy more, and parents, they had a kind of revelation. In fact, some of them said that now we understand what you do in the Anganwadis. We used to think to khela kore, shomoy noshto kore, mane khelta hai, samay barbad hota hai. Now that we see that when we are doing these things and how a child is responding, how much a child is learning. So that way, I feel that, if parents have through this, home-based learning calendar, they have understood the value of play, then that is a big achievement. So I really rushed through what I had to say, keeping in mind the time. And also I took advantage of being the last speaker because most of the things that I wanted to say had already been told. So I would now like to share the film on home-based learning, which will give you a flavor of the kind of things that are, which will take you straight inside the homes of these families, of these children. And if Nitin, could we show the film, please? I'm sorry if I rushed with my presentation. I was very conscious about the time, and I felt that, okay, since most of the things have been said, let me just concentrate, focus on the package and the work that was done during the COVID times. And in fact, the response has been so positive that the government is now thinking of, really going for a very large-scale parenting program after things return to normalcy. They are not going to stop this. So
by the way, just to tell the audience that this program has also received the Scotch Award.
Scotch Award.
I mean, the ICDS had sent it, West Bengal had sent it, and it has received the Gold Award in Scotch. So, yes, please continue.
And the kind of uptake, the kind of enthusiasm of parents, it was really amazing. And I just hope there are no difficulties in screening, because I think you will enjoy, what you are going to see.
Excuse me, ma'am, I'm facing some difficulties to run this file.
So we can't show this?
Can Inika ma'am, can you please?
I don't have the video with me. I don't have the video.
Please give me screen sharing facilities. I will try.
Yes, ma'am, you can share from your side.
Okay, thank you. I will try. I was not ready for it. I was not ready for it. I'm sorry.
Let's try if we can.
Otherwise,
we can also.
I don't know
share the
if
link.
UNICEF can share it with people in
Yes,
some way.
yes. I think what we can do, we can share the link. We can give it to Sphere. Sphere, Nitin, you have it, right? You have the film with you. So
Yes.
you can share it with the audience, the link. Nitin, you can do that, right?
Sometimes this happens, you know, the links don't work.
Yes, ma'am, I can do it.
Yeah,
Okay.
please share. You will see that, you know, very simple activities, and you will get a lot of ideas on the kind of activities that can be done at home and which really contributes to their.
I think it's coming. See,
It's
whether
coming?
Ma'am, it's working now. You can.
Yeah,
working?
yeah.
Okay,
Please,
okay.
please put it on.
There's no sound.
Children start learning through play, stories, art and craft in the Anganwadi centers of the state. West Bengal has 116,759 such centers that initiate healthy habits, provide nutrition and education to almost 27 lakh children across the state.
Complete shutdown in Bengal also now.
Lockdown has now begun in West Bengal as well to fight coronavirus.
Lockdown, there's much lesser vehicular traffic on the road.
The pandemic and the subsequent lockdown did not halt the Anganwadi's outreach and services. Even during this crisis, the Didis continued to provide support through high-quality ECE resources to ensure learning. They also sensitized parents and children on the requisite health protocols and prevention from COVID-19. The 108,504 Anganwadi workers met this steep challenge. They were the first ones to note visible signs of behavioral change among children, pointing to the need for support in mental well-being.
আমি বাড়িতে যখন হোম ভিজিট করতে গেছি টিএইচআর দেওয়ার সময় বা ওদের হেলথ কন্ডিশন জানার জন্য, তখন আমি দেখেছি বাচ্চারা মনমরা হয়ে বসে রয়েছে বাড়িতে।
এই সময় আমি আমার সুপারভাইজার দিদিকে বলি, দিদি কি করা যায় বলুন তো, আপনারা কি কিছু ব্যবস্থা করছেন? বাচ্চাগুলো তো ভীষণ মানে একটা অস্বস্তিকর আচরণ করছে, এইভাবে তো ওদের লেখাপড়া শুধু না মানসিকতাও নষ্ট হয়ে যাবে।
এমন একটা কর্মসূচি আমরা ভাবতে আরম্ভ করলাম, যার মাধ্যমে এই বাচ্চাদের কাছে তারা যেটা শিখতেন আমাদের আঙ্গনবাড়ি কেন্দ্রে, ধারাবাহিকভাবে তাদের কাছে যদি পাঠানো যায়। এমন অবস্থায় এই কর্মসূচি, যেটাকে হোম বেসড পেরেন্টিং বলছি আমরা, যেখানে মা বাবা এবং অভিভাবকদের প্রত্যক্ষ অংশগ্রহণ থাকবে, হাসির ছলে, মজার ছলে, খেলার ছলে, তারা শুধু প্রাক-প্রাথমিক শিক্ষা নয়, তার সাথে সাথে শিশুরও সার্বিকভাবে ভালো থাকার এই বিষয়টা আমরা তাদেরকে খুশি রাখার জন্য একটা সুন্দর প্রচেষ্টা গ্রহণ করলাম। এর মধ্যে দিয়ে আমরা ছড়া, গান, গল্প এবং কিছু কিছু কাজের নির্দেশ এই সমস্ত আমরা আরম্ভ করলাম, যেটা হোয়াটসঅ্যাপের মাধ্যমে, আর যাদের মোবাইল ডেটা ইন্টারনেটের সুবিধে আছে তাদের ফোনেতে, তারা এইগুলোকে অ্যাক্সেস করতে পারবেন, তাদের কাছে এই তথ্যগুলো, এই গল্প, ছড়া, গানগুলো পৌঁছতে পারে। এই ব্যবস্থাটা আমরা আরম্ভ করলাম। আমরা একটা অদ্ভুত দৃশ্য দেখলাম। আমাদের আঙ্গনবাড়ি সেন্টারে যে বাচ্চাগুলো আসতো, তারা এখন বাড়িতে রয়েছে, সেই বাড়ির দৃশ্যটাও দেখলাম, যে সেখানে দেখছি যে মা বাবাও অংশগ্রহণ করছে, দাদু দিদা কিংবা দিদিমা, ঠাকুমা ঠাকুরদার, তারাও অংশগ্রহণ
আমার ভীষণ আনন্দ হচ্ছে যে আমি বাচ্চাদের সঙ্গে যোগাযোগ করতে পারছি, এমনকি তাদেরকে সমস্ত অ্যাক্টিভিটি শেখাতে পারছি।
যখন লকডাউন হয় তখন আমরা ভেবেছিলাম যে আর মনে হয় শিশুআলয়ে পাঠাতে পারবো না, বাচ্চাদের কি হবে না হবে। তারপরে হঠাৎ এদিন সুখবর হলো যে এদের পড়াশোনা লেখাপড়াটা আবার চালু হচ্ছে।
অঙ্গনওয়াড়ি দিদিরা হোয়াটসঅ্যাপে অনেক অ্যাক্টিভিটি পড়া পাঠিয়েছে, যেগুলো মেয়ে খুব আনন্দ সহকারে এইগুলো পড়ে।
এটা আমার খুব ভালো লাগছে যে ও আগের মতো আবার সব শিখছে, প্লাস আমিও ঘরে বসে পড়াতে পারছি।
আমার স্মার্টফোন নেই, সেই অনুযায়ী আন্টিরা যে ফোনের মধ্যে পড়াশোনার রুটিন অনুযায়ী পড়াশোনা পাঠান, সেইগুলো আমি পাই না। আমার ছেলের বন্ধু বর্ষার মা, সে রেগুলার এসে রুটিনগুলো বলে দিয়ে যেত, তারপরে আন্টির সাথে আমার ফোনে কথা হতো, সেই কথা অনুযায়ী আমি আমার ছেলেকে ক্লাস করাতাম।
সেই কাজগুলো আমাদের বাচ্চাদের খুবই ভালো লেগেছে এবং আমাদেরও এত ভালো লেগেছে যে সেগুলোকে আমরা বাড়িতে ভিডিও করে দিদিকে হোয়াটসঅ্যাপে পাঠিয়ে দিই।
জুলাই মাসের শেষে আমরা দেখলাম এই প্রায় 50% আমাদের যে শিশুরা আসেন তাদের বাড়িতে কিন্তু এই ডিজিটাল এর মাধ্যমে এই মডিউলটা পৌঁছে গেছে এবং তারা ব্যবহার করছে। আমরা কিন্তু এটা দেখে আরো উৎসাহিত বোধ করছি। যাদের কাছে স্মার্টফোন নেই, যাদের কাছে ইন্টারনেট ডেটা পেতে অসুবিধা আছে, আমরা ইতিমধ্যে কমিউনিটি রেডিওটাও এক্সপ্লোর করেছি। সেই বিষয়টাও দেখছি। আমাদের যে যাদবপুর কমিউনিটি রেডিও আছে আর পুরুলিয়া কমিউনিটি রেডিও আছে, প্রায় শেষ ধাপে পাকাপাকি হয়ে গেছে। তাদের মাধ্যমেও আমরা রেডিওতে এটা প্রচার এবং প্রসার করব।
This initiative acted as a magical charm, touching the lives of all these children. The success of the initiative is a strong determinant that ensures continued learning among the lakhs of vulnerable children of our state.
Thank you, Ms. Chatterjee, and it was wonderful to see this film. I'm sure the others have also enjoyed, and it's a beautiful film to show that how during these difficult times we can overcome and how we can innovate and actually make our programs even richer and even more, better. So this is a very good example of that. So with this, we come to the end of this session. I apologize that we have actually gone beyond our schedule quite a bit. We just to summarize in 2 seconds that Piyush Gupta, Professor Gupta, introduced the subject, gave an overview, and then we learned about the multi-sectorality of early childhood development, and also we learned about the mother-child protection card, how it's a very simple tool which can be used by all. We learned from Dr. Kumutha. It was wonderful to learn from her in details the life cycle approach and the continuum of care, how it promotes or hampers, if it's not there, early childhood development, and the details, and how she also talked a little bit about the science and made it very simple to tell us that how prenatal care, intrapartum care, that kind of promotes and how it influences early childhood development. From Dr. Chatterjee, we heard about her experience of working in the tribal area, working with the Anganwadi workers and other frontline workers, how about how the hand skill building could be done. It was, of course, before COVID and even before the HBIYC program was started. We learned how it can be actually reached to each and every household, to the parents. And lastly, from Ms. Shubhra Chatterjee, we learned about the responsive parenting and also about how innovations and use of the digital platform, simple technology, the parenting skills and the messages and the early childhood development can be promoted using WhatsApp and reaching it to each and every family and child. So with that, we come to the end of this session. I hope all of you have enjoyed it. I would like to thank all our speakers. I would like to thank the Sphere Academy and their team for giving the required support. And last but not the least, would like to thank all the listeners who have patiently given their time the audience who have patiently given their times. We hope that you have learned. We have also learned today a lot from the eminent speakers and experts. So I would like to hand over to Nitin for his concluding remarks and conclude the session.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you all. So before concluding the session, I would like to thank you, Dr. Kaninika Mitra, for her incredible and effective moderation of the session. And also we thank each and every speaker and all the participants for such an enriching discussion. Before we end the session, I would like to mention a few administrative directions. Your certificates will be ready in 24 hours. Visit our website, www.sphereindiacovid19academy.org, and you can download your certificate by scrolling down and finding the name for today's session. It will be ready to download in 24 hours. However, if you may unable to do so, some participants have faced technical difficulties. Don't worry, you can email us covid19academy@sphereindia.org.in, and we will get back to you soon as possible. Have a great evening. See you soon for the next section. Thank you.
Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you.